Perfect. So welcome and good morning to those that are attending live and to those that will be watching this back on the recording. Today we are going to be going through some bits and pieces, which I'll go through the agenda around making tax digital for income tax. But first of all, just to do some introductions, my name is Kelly and I am from Xero. And we have Daniel, who will be also co-presenting with me this morning, who's one of the account managers at Honey Barrett. Also on the call today, we have Joanna and Natalie, who will be available to answer any questions in the chat box. And we will have some time at the end if you have any direct questions. And obviously we have the drop-in days, which are going to be absolutely key to ensuring that it's more bespoke directly to you. So any questions that you want to go into a bit more detail around what your needs are for your business, that's what those drop-in days will be there for. So without further ado, I will go into what we are going to cover today. So key and the purpose of today is to really look at what MTD is, and Daniel is going to give us an overview of that in a minute. And then we're going to look at some of those key features beyond what just the compliance is and what could actually be really beneficial for you and your business. So we're going to look at some of those like sales invoicing. We're going to look at HubDoc. We're going to have some time for a Q&A. But most importantly, what does that journey look like to ensure that you are compliant and you are set up within that digital journey? So I'm going to hand over to Daniel, who's going to take you through those key areas within making tax digital. Like I said, Daniel's an account manager from Honey Barrett, and he is going to be there on some of the drop-in days as well. And so will Natalie and Joanna. So I'm going to hand over and hopefully everyone can hear. So Daniel, take over.
Thanks, Kelly. So I'm Daniel. I'm one of the client managers from Honey Barrett. Obviously with MTD coming in, it's very important that we're all prepared nice and early, as soon as we possibly can be. Making tax digital started with VAT back in 2019. And the reason the HMRC brought this about is they wanted to modernise the UK system. They wanted to try and reduce the risk of errors. With the VAT system, by 2022, all VAT registered businesses had to be using compliance software. So moving on to the self-assessment for MTD, it will be coming in April 2026. The starting levels are 50,000 for 2026, moving down to 30,000 in 2027. It is reported that it should be down to 20,000 by 2028. And I would imagine in the coming years, shortly after that, they're going to remove the threshold completely. So anyone with a qualifying earnings of over 20,000 should be involved with the Making Tax Digital within the next 3 or so years. Qualifying earnings are any gross income, that's the income before expenses and deductions, and it comes from qualifying earnings from self-employment and rental income. So if you have either of those and the gross incomes are over 50,000 from 2026 and then lower, then you are likely to be involved within the next year. HMRC are basing the assessment for whether you're qualifying on the 2025 tax year. So if you reach the criteria for in April 2026, you will be required to use a digital accounting platform to record your income and expenses and submit those on a quarterly basis to HMRC. This, as I say, they are quarterly submissions, so they will be due within 1 month and 7 days of each of the quarter ends. Those quarters being, the first one would be June, and then obviously September, December, and March. So the very first MTD quarter will be the quarter to June, and that will be due by the 7th of August. There will be a normal final submission, as you do with your normal self-assessment. That will be due on the 31st of January. That doesn't change. So as well as the 4 quarters, you've got one final submission. That will include all your other income as well, and a final declaration. That will replace the self-assessment return and going forward. So in preparation for this, obviously, if you haven't got software, if you haven't got a digital platform, that's one of the priorities to get in place ready to go. And then other things to look at is potentially making sure that you have things to help with that process, i.e. getting a bank account. If you don't have an independent, dedicated bank account for just your business transactions, we would advise that you look into that as soon as possible so that you can record the figures easier. And you'll see with Kelly shortly in the demonstration, if you have a bank account, it makes using that software so much more easier. I think for now, that's pretty much it. Hopefully, if you've come on the webinars, you've received letters and documentation from us. Please reach out to your client managers as well for more information. And we have these 3 walk-in days for the next 3 days. So it will be good. It would be good if you've got any queries to just come and meet us, and we can give you as much guidance as possible. And with that, back to Kelly, if that's okay.
Amazing, thank you. So just to summarize for everyone, what is currently that once a year when you would quite often just maybe drop in all of your data ready for Honey Barrett to do your self-assessment. What that's going to look like is the requirement will be for that to be done on a quarterly basis, like Daniel just touched on. So those touch points when you'll need that data to be in, and it will need to be within a digital format. So things are changing, and in order for those things to be, you to keep on top of all of those things, it's key to get started as soon as possible, because like Daniel said, that first MTD for income tax return will be due for those over that 50K in that first quarter of the year. So you'll have that month and those 7 days after that. But you'll also be there in the January still getting your self-assessment for that last year of the final year done. So you don't want to have to do all of that, then get set up, then get your bank sorted, and then you sort of in that rush. So what we're sort of looking at is getting you guys set up as soon as possible, which is why Honey Barrett are putting together these drop-in days. And like Daniel said, you can contact your client manager to ensure that you're on this journey early. You can make sure that you understand it. You can also embrace the elements that are key to your business. So that it might be that you want to start sending sales invoicing out in a digital format so you can get paid quicker. All of these things that we're going to just cover off today that will be really, really helpful to see what you can actually gain from this, not just from that it's a compliance, I have to do it, but what's in it for you and your business to succeed. So I'm going to take you into the software today. Do excuse that I will be looking at my other screen for a period of time, but we're just going to touch on some of these key features within Xero itself. So for those of you that have probably never seen Xero before, Xero is a cloud software. So wherever you are that you have access to the internet, you will be able to log into your account. There are a number of subscription types which you would be able to speak to your account manager or your client manager at Honey Barrett with to what would suit your needs for your business best. So it could be that you just want to be able to connect your bank up and Honey Barrett be supporting you on making sure that you're compliant, or it could be that you actually want to start using the software yourself. So it could be that you want to start getting paid quicker, because we know that so many of our sole traders are out there and maybe they're still raising sales invoices in Word or Excel or even handwritten, and sometimes getting paid or actually going through your admin like month end, sort of you're always working backwards. When we're looking at any business, regardless to size, everyone wants to get paid fast, right? So key to this is sort of looking at what can I gain from having to digitalize, and a lot of that stems around being able to raise your sales invoices whilst you're out on the road, whilst you're with the client, be able to just ping them over. And I don't know about any of you, but certainly for me, if I get an invoice through and it's got a pay now button on it, I'm paying it straight away. Whereas if it doesn't and it's taken me time to go and actually set that up in my bank account, I might forget, not deliberately, but sometimes these things happen. So therefore there's that delay. So my cash flow would be a lot slower and under pressure. So these are key areas that are going to benefit from digitalization. So maybe think about it less about I've got to do this, and actually embrace it as a benefit and what's in it for me and my business. And that's where those drop-in days, or post those drop-in days, being able to speak to your client manager about what you can actually start doing, setting up and getting on that front foot well in advance of actually the compliance deadlines. So like I said, Xero is a cloud-based software, and in order for you to meet those deadlines, one of the key features of Xero and the subscription types that you will be looking at to be compliant with MTD for income tax is that they do have a bank feed. So like Daniel mentioned earlier, is if you've got a separate bank account, you can actually have that feeding in. You could have your personal one feeding in as well, but you might not want that with all of your transactions coming through, because it's going to make it that bit more difficult for whether it's Honey Barrett or yourself to section out what is in relation to the business and what is in relation to you personally. So having that separate bank account, again, really streamlines that process for you to have that connected up to the software. And I'm just going to pause for a second and just let you all know that that does not mean that anyone will have access to your bank account. So there will be no booking any holidays or anything like that using your bank details. Don't worry. What it is it's a read only. So it's no different for you sending your bank statements through to Honey Barrett as it stands at the moment. All that's happening is the software is able to pull over your statement information. So it's read only data. But what it is doing is capturing it. So rather than anyone having to pop it into spreadsheets, analyze it out manually or anything like that, what it's doing is it's pulling it directly into the software safely and securely. What that allows your accountants to do is then be able to analyze that data, be able to pop it into the correct columns that they would normally have possibly done it in spreadsheets. This is where we can use the power of software to really support what that's going to look like on a regular basis. On top of that, you have the ability to raise sales invoices within your subscriptions. Like I said, each subscription, so one of the ones that I'm showcasing right now, you will see that I've got a lot of tabs across the top. I've got my dashboard, a business tab, accounting tab, payroll, projects, contacts. That won't be in every subscription. This is when having that unique conversation with your client manager is going to be key to see what your needs are, to see what is available within each subscription that you would need. One of the ones that most people will probably start off using is called Xero Simple. Xero Simple allows you to do 10 sales invoices a month within the subscription. And like I said, if you're doing something manually and it's becoming an admin task in the evenings, on the weekends, quite often at month end, this is where you're going to really save time and gain from having that within software. So I'm just going to take you around some of the key areas. You can log in, you will have your unique login to Xero. You can also have multiple people. So if you've got one of your maybe one of your kids, maybe a partner, anything like that, where you want to share the responsibility of actually doing this, you can have multiple users within our software, and that's not at extra cost either. You will also see that we have some search bars at the top, but really fantastic is the usability within Xero. And you have this help button, and you can use this similar to that as if you would use a Google search. So anything I want to know how to do within Xero, I can hit the question mark and it will give me relevant things to the page I'm on, to things I might want to find out. But I can literally put in, how do I raise a sales invoice? And it will pop back and give me a step-by-step guide on how to do that. So being able to use Xero itself, if that is something that you will be doing, then you will be able to find and the resource so easily, and you will also have the support of your client managers. So what you will see in this full version of Xero is we have our bank accounts. So you can have multiple bank accounts attached to Xero. The information feeds in as read-only information directly within Xero. So just to give you an example of what this looks like, this is the information feeding in from your bank, and that is everything down that left-hand side. Everything on the right-hand side is where we're going to put it within the software, so that's coding it to the correct account. You may or may not have been involved with any of this before. It might be that you've sectioned things out within a spreadsheet, or it might be that you've just told your client manager what something is for. But key to this is having this direct information in on a regular basis. Now, if we imagine what that could be like if we didn't have a bank feed coming in and your client manager is going to need that information in on a quarterly basis, they are going to be asking you to download your bank and get it in a format like a CSV or an OFX file, whatever's going to be easier to get that into them. Then they are going to have to import that into the software and then start the job. So the power of the bank feed means that you're not being chased for this information, and it's not taking up the time for Honey Barrett to also be chasing that information in. So you're going to be able to spend that time on actually running your business as opposed to thinking about, oh, I must do that, I've got to send that in, oh, we're now up against the deadline, will the deadline be met? All of these things, having that feed in just means that that data is pulling through every day. Every day it's read-only information coming in, which means that that makes it manageable. So whether it's yourself or Honey Barrett that's actually reconciling this information, then having it coming in on a regular basis means it's a lot easier to keep on top of this. So again, we won't go through all of the different ways within the bank at the moment. That is something that, again, any additional training, things like that can be directly spoken about with your client manager. This is very much just to give you some insights into how the software will work and what key areas that you will benefit from and what is really required in order to make sure that you're meeting these deadlines for compliance. So, like I said, on the dashboard, depending on whether you are invoicing maybe at the moment, some of you may be, some of you may not be. And if you decide to use the software for invoicing, actually you get this lovely overview in here. So I can see how many people owe me money, which is the most important thing, right? I want to know who owes me money and whether it's overdue or what's coming in and anything I want to chase. Now, I know that if you are not do not have things digital or digitalized at the moment, then that's difficult to track, right? I have seen it many a times. I come from practice myself, and I've seen it many a times where I've actually picked up a job at year end, and I've noticed that they haven't been paid for something, but they didn't even know. And then going back sometimes 9, 12 months to ask that person to actually pay for you for something that you didn't realize they hadn't can be quite embarrassing, and sometimes you actually lose out on that money. So this allows you to keep on top of who owes you money, which is key, right? You will also if you do decide to go for one of the next step ups in subscriptions, you can also see what bills you might want to pay. So if you are getting lots of supplier invoices and you want to keep them all in one place, again, that will be something that you can discuss with your client manager, and you will be able to add that in within the subscription. And therefore, you will be able to track who you owe money to. Within that, you can also pay directly from Xero if you want to. So there are so many different features that are going to be available within different subscription types that are going to be relevant to you. So having these conversations with your client manager is going to be absolutely key to ensuring that you're on the right path. I'm going to just have a quick show of sales invoicing, because I think this is something that's quite important. And you'll see within each and every area, you can just go in, have a look. You'll have access to a demo company, which means that you can go in and have a play, test things out, trial things. And within here, what you can do is just come in and hit new invoice. It's definitely worth mentioning that whilst you're, like I mentioned earlier, it could be that you're with a client and actually you want to send a sales invoice directly out. You have access to this on your mobile phone, your iPad. You can access it as long as you've got the internet. You can actually come in and send your sales invoices out whilst you're on the road. You can see in here, we've got the ability, I'm just going to type in some test, and you will see you have the ability to put in new contacts directly from here. If I just put number 2, you'll see that it is creating a new contact. So I can hit create new. And from here, I'm able to put in their email address, their actual physical address, and I'm also able to put in a billing address if I want to. So I can do all of that just from this one screen. And I can just hit save. I don't have to put any extra information in, but it does allow me to be able to email it directly out from the software. You'll see that the issue date will be the day that I actually am raising it, so today. And then when I click in here, again, keeping it nice and efficient, it allows me to choose a particular date, or I could say, actually, I want them paying within 7 days, so I can just hit 7 days. It will automatically populate the due date for me. It will automatically populate my invoice number and my reference. I can put in a reference or I don't have to at all. Under the branding theme, this is when you can have your unique logo within an invoice. So it might be that, again, if you discuss with your client manager, I want this invoice to look like I send out already. Really easy to do. And you can have your logo on that. And then you can pop in as much or as little information into here. You can have, maybe there's a service that you particularly use. It might be that you do project management, something like that. I can actually put that in as a service, which will then pre-populate everything for me, which is great. So it really streamlines that process. You're not writing things out over and over. And then you'll see if I put the quantity as 2, and you can see at the end it totals to the 500 because the one day was the 250. And if I put in 2 days worth, then you'll see that it totals the 500. Again, really, you can add in multiple lines. You can just add in information if something's wrong. You've just got these lovely bin buttons in here. I can attach files. I can hide different columns that I may or may not want to see. If I'm not VAT registered, I might want to hide certain columns. So again, it's all customizable and can make things really, really streamlined. You will see I have this lovely preview button. And when I hit the preview button, that will take me through and show me exactly what my invoice is going to look like. And I can download this, or I might want to just approve an email. If you've got anything wrong, it will go red and it will let you know what you need to do. But you will see here, if I hit approve an email, this is when it will come up and it will show you what will happen and what will be sent across. Again, all of these custom templates within emailing anything out, you can set and make bespoke to you. So this is just something as a demonstration to show you. And you may have already noticed that I have the review and the pay button on here. So we do have pay now abilities. You can add on PayPal, Stripe, Go Cardless. There's so many that you can add on so that straight away this invoice would be able to be paid by the person that it lands with. The other end of that as well is maybe I'm out on the road. We have recently introduced Tap to Pay. It's now available on Android and iOS, and that allows you, whilst you're out, you raise in the invoice and they can tap to pay you. So no downtime, it's straight away, nice and efficient. So within sales invoicing, like I said, it's really easy. You can just print it out if you wanted to, but we don't want to be wasting paper. But you want to, ideal situation is actually emailing it directly to your clients. And then you'll get left with your overview and you can see it in multiple locations through Xero. So like I said, on your dashboard, this is key. You can see exactly what's going on here. But it might be that you want to go directly into your invoices and you'll see that we've got the tabs across the top. So I can see all of them. I can see maybe what I've actually put to draft. I can see what's awaiting payment. And you'll see I can search within these areas as well. We have a search bar at the top. and you can type in maybe an invoice number that you're searching for. You can type in an amount, maybe a contact name, anything like that. You can search for that and it will take you to what is relevant within the software. So think about when maybe you're missing some documentation or anything like that, or you're trying to locate, it becomes a lot more efficient directly with having it all in software. Which I guess brings me to another point, because as we all know, when we are maybe working a bit more manually or not digitalizing things, whether that be in spreadsheets or within a book, it's all very much silo data. So things sit individually year on year. Something's in one spreadsheet, another year is in another spreadsheet, another year in another spreadsheet, or another book maybe. And what that means is when you do need to maybe get a loan, have a mortgage, go and get some, sort of financial advice or anything, we need sort of to compare over a period of time. And many people will ask you for the last maybe 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, whatever it may be, and pulling together all of that data so you can actually see what's been happening in your business. Can be really challenging. So having everything all within one place just means that going forward, you're going to be able to compare, where have I been doing particularly well? What's not worked so well? So again, that power of understanding your numbers. And I think that's why it's so relevant beyond the compliance, actually thinking about the benefits from utilizing software itself, being able to send out invoices, but knowing my numbers more than anything, being able to know what's working really well and what might not be. What do I need to change? What if I did this? What do I need to get over to maybe the bank? Whatever it may be, having the data in one location for me to run reports and compare is key to success of any business. And then on top of the sales invoicing, we have the ability to get information in. So it could be that you have lots of supplier information. It could be that you've got lots of little receipts. So again, with your subscriptions that you would be required to have for making tax digital for income tax, you would be required to give the information across within the timescales. And one of those things is obviously giving your client manager everything regarding your expenses. With that in mind, you can use we call HubDoc. HubDoc is included within the subscriptions that keep you compliant under making tax digital for income tax. And what that actually allows you to do is have the app within your phone. So all you have to do is take a photo of your receipt. If I just go to log into, I'll just go into a particular one. What happens is you will end up within your subscription. So you can use this. This is the desktop version that I'm showing you now. So you can use this on an iPad. You can use it on a laptop. We also have the app that you can download, which is amazing. And what that allows you to do, it could be that I have just little receipts that I just want to take a photo on my phone. Really easy. Once I've taken that photo, I no longer need to keep the original documentation because this is compliant under the governing rules that you can actually have a digital copy of this, and this is sufficient. So I don't have to store a load of documentation. I don't have to be taking information in. This is the way to easily get all of this information across to your client managers without you having to really think about it. I remember so many times having to chase information in, and then maybe because of we're so many months down the line past when it actually happened, people have lost this information. So imagine when you're out, you're able to just snap the picture, done, dusted, it goes straight across to your client manager. It could be that you get loads of supplier invoices emailed in. Again, you'll be able to talk to your client manager about this. But what this allows you to do is you have an email address within HubDoc. So you'd be able to have a forwarding email address. So every supplier invoice that I may receive, I'm then able to just email it directly to your account within HubDoc. Again, meaning your account manager has a copy of everything. So they've got your bank feed, and then they also have this information in. So there's going to be a lot less of this, right, I need all this information, I need all this information. Just doing it whilst you're on the run, or having maybe a forwarding rule. Every time a particular supplier emails me, I want it to automatically forward it to HubDoc. Again, something that you can discuss in a bit more detail with your client manager. For me, these areas are absolutely key to keeping this streamlined for you. It means that you don't have that stress and that pressure. What feels like a year end for you at the moment, getting that data in. We know that times are busy within November, December, and January, and that's when we're up against it with the deadline. That's coming on a quarterly basis, okay? So making sure that you have the ease of being able to get information across is key. So you could be doing your sales invoicing directly in Xero. You don't have to be. You could be snapping receipts in here, forwarding them. You could even come into the software itself and hit the upload, and you can just drag and drop information in here as well. Again, it then means that your client manager has that information. So everything to try and keep it as easy as possible. It might be that you decide, I'm not ready to do my sales invoicing directly in Xero yet. And that's fine too. You can use HubDoc to just pop a picture over until you're ready. Obviously, that means that you are duplicating work because it still has to go into the software, but there are ways around it. I would say key is having your bank feed in, doing your sales invoicing if you are sending out sales in Xero itself, and then using HubDoc to snap away at your expenses. So when we think about it as a whole, and just to recap, those key areas are going to make this really streamlined. Your sales invoicing, your bank feed, and your capturing of your receipts, or dragging and dropping, having that email forwarding. And what HubDoc allows you to do is, if we look on here, this is one of the receipts that has been taken. And then what starts to happen is the technology itself starts to learn, starts to read information, it starts to capture that, and we can set rules within it. And again, that's something that your client manager will work with you on. So again, on that regular basis, we've just got that information flowing through, keeping everything nice and streamlined. If you don't have or there's not a need for you to send out sales invoicing, that's fine too. It could be that you have another software that you're already using that has all of that data in. You can a lot of software connects directly into Xero, so can digitally connect and pull that information through. So another question that you might want to ask and speak to your client manager, if you are already using a particular software, maybe within the landlord industry, it might be that you have something in place, in which case, what's the best way in getting that information across so that we can make sure that it's as streamlined as possible? There are so many different functions of getting this information in. It could be that you're directly putting it into the software. It could be that it's coming through HubDoc. We have over 1,000 apps on our app store that can connect into Xero itself. So again, it could be coming from another way. And then, like worst case scenario, there is the ability to import into Xero. So it could be that you've exported it out somewhere and it import it in. Again, these are options that you can talk about with your client manager. Daniel, I'm just going to open the floor up to you if there's anything else that you want to add in at this time.
Thanks, Kelly. We haven't had any questions yet in the chat rooms, so I think that's quite good. Well, I don't think anyone's got any questions. But yeah, again, I just, from our side of things, speak to your client manager. Let's get you on a right package. This is coming in. There's no way of avoiding it. So we need to move forwards and move to a digitization. So I think the important thing for all of us is that we do it in the most convenient, easiest manner. And I know for a lot of clients, it's going to be quite a stressful process, especially if you've been doing manual books for years. But as Kelly mentions, that the benefits to doing it through the software with a bank feed is the process should be nice and slick, nice and smooth. Xero is very intuitive and easily worked around. I think a lot of people can just hit the ground almost running with Xero, which is what we like about it. And having those various degrees of packages as well is very useful in terms of the cost and cost effectiveness. So I think that's pretty much it. If there's nothing else and there's no questions, I think we've got the main thing is the 3 walk-in days as just popped up on the screen. So we're in Bexhill tomorrow. We're in Eastbourne on a Wednesday, and then Wadhurst on Thursday. There's the QR codes there that hopefully you can utilize and link into. And yeah, and it'd be good to see you all because there's a lot of people this is affecting. This is a quite a large change for a lot of clients, and I think it's very important that we make the steps now to save the panic next year, or even if it's 2027. These changes are coming, and the sooner you kind of get on board, the smoother everything should run, and the less stress. And I think that's the main thing. For people that haven't been digitized, the thought is stressful. So starting sooner, getting everything up and running, and then by next year or the year after, you had a year of that. You had a year of the experience. You might like it. I don't know. Let's see. But anyway, yeah, please reach out to your client managers. Please attend one of the days. There'll be 3 of us there that are happy to answer questions or help in any way at all. Yeah, so thank you very much for attending today. And hopefully we'll see you all during the week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.